Simon, go to the hospital, Billy's there, and he's in severe pain. So she got the assignment, she found out who the teacher was for Billy, and she asked the teacher, what does Billy need to know? And well, we're studying right now nouns and adverbs, so if you can help him do that, then when he comes back, then he'll be up to snuff with the nouns and adverbs. So she walks into the hospital room, and here's Billy. She was shocked. They never told her why he was in severe pain. He was severely burned. And he was really in pretty bad shape. And so she brought her love energy there with him. See, when we are in this God consciousness, we don't have to say a word. When people come into our center, they experience it. There's no word said. We just experience love energy. This kid is severe pain. He's in the hospital. And what does he do? He experiences comforting. He experiences nurturing. He's there. So anyway, she said, Billy, I'm here from the school system, and I met with your teacher, and they wish you well, but they want you to be up to stuff when you return back. And she says, and so they're studying nouns and adverbs. So she spent an hour there, and primarily she did her tutoring, but she did something better than that. She presented her love energy, that healing energy. So the next day she goes back to the hospital. The nurse takes her aside and says, what did you do to Billy? Oh! She said, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. No, you got us wrong. Billy, before yesterday, got given up. He knew he was going to die. And then you came along. What did you do? Got the idea? So Billy immediately started reacting and adjusting to the medication. His attitude changed. He all of a sudden wanted to live, and he knew he was going to live. And it was that tremendous love energy that we all. And so, about 3 weeks later, Billy said, I want to explain to you what happened. He said, I knew I was going to die. So he was in that lower frame of mind, the lower consciousness. He was vibrating. David Hawkins, I love this guy. He's got great books, Power versus Force. He shows the different levels of calibration. It's vibration. When you're in that low level of depression, doubt, and fear, you're vibrating so low that it's destructive to your system. And that's where Billy was. And so what happened was, he said after she came, there was something about her that gave me hope. And so I decided, hey, and besides, if my teacher's worried about me knowing nouns and adverbs, then I shouldn't be dying. Why would they do that anyway? So anyway, he started recovering. It's emotional because it's connected to the divine itself. It's God in action. It's a love emotion that when we're there, we just feel it. Every cell in Angelo's body. When I went over these stories this morning, my God, I was tingling all over. I was connected to the divine, and it was pretty awesome. And of course, I'm all out of all my notes here. I don't know where the hell I am. Okay, I'm good. What's kind of neat about us is that we have the power to change our minds. Isn't that cool? I might be connected to something that's really providing me some distress, putting me down there at that calibration level that's destructive to me. But I have the power to change my mind, to do something differently. It's kind of neat. And there's so much research out there that shows when people change their mind, they change their life experience. And what I mean by changing our mind when we talk about spirituality is bringing that level of calibration up to where we're in that destructive mode of fear, doubt, name calling and pointing fingers and all that kind of stuff. Bringing that up somehow so that you're above that. And there's a research that came out on the Baylor School of Medicine that was pretty interesting. They decided to do some research, and the results was published in the in a journal of medicine having to do with research, and it was over how surgeries affect people who have severe pain in their knees. very debilitating pain. Now, many of us experience pains in our knees. But the idea was, let's figure out what effect surgery has. So they decided to do something. They were going to have 3 groups, and this doctor named Mosley. It was kind of interesting. They had 3 different groups. The first group, regular surgery. Second group, regular surgery, where they would shave the cartilage and wash it out, get out all the material that's kind of causing the pain and all. And, you know, the 2 incisions and all the things that they do. On the third group, though, they decided to have fake surgery. Fake surgery. Can you believe this? So, in other words, a doctor would do the 2 cut, the person would be heavily sedated, but the doctor would just do the 2 cuts, the 2 incisions, and then be talking and doing things indicating that he's doing some work. Like he'd splash some salt water and he'd talk about this and that, but he was doing nothing. It was just fake surgery. So after 40 minutes, everybody got sewed up, and they all had to go through rehab. So they did the rehab stuff, and the results were shocking. Shocking. The first 2 groups, naturally, they improved really very well. The third group that had fake surgery shockingly did as well, if not better. In fact, some of the people had such a debilitating pain in their knees that they had canes and they could hardly walk. And what was kind of interesting, one guy who had a cane, he had to use a cane, all of a sudden, after having the fake surgery, was able to play basketball with his grandchild. He was able to jog and do all those good things. Now we can ask ourselves, what happened here? What's the result of all this? What does this have to do with unity consciousness? I think it has a whole lot to do with unity consciousness. It's because when we get into that frame of mind of depression, the lower consciousness stuff, then our body, biologically, our body relates to all that and adapts to it. And in this case, knowing I went through surgery, I'm well now, it was a change in mind. We have the power to change our mind. And changing our mind changes our experience. In this case, it changed it pretty dramatically through research, which is pretty awesome. We have 2 choices, I think, in this life experience. And one choice is to live in unity consciousness. That means that we spend our day in love. We express that attribute of God in all that we do. It takes some work, because I know we all are confronted with situations and relationships. I'm not talking about ours. That we have to work at. So that's our first choice. We can decide for ourselves, how am I going to experience this life form? Am I going to do it with a unity consciousness? And we need to find out what that means. It means living the nature of God. And we know what the nature of God is. Or we can live in separation. These are our choices, two choices. We can live and be subject to whatever's happening, and which is not as powerful as the other. So it's up to us. But I think, and Joanne pointed this out, we fluctuate. Now Jesus and Mother Teresa, all those folks, they stayed pretty much at that high level of consciousness, the cosmic consciousness that Joan pointed out. But the rest of us, depending on the situation, we fluctuate. And I've been at this stuff for 40 years, and I fluctuate. My gosh, some days I wake up in depression. I know we all do. My God, we're thinking about the payments and this and that, and we go into this lower consciousness. But what's so neat about that is we need to realize that we don't have to stay in that valley of the shadow of death. We don't have to stay there. We don't have to build our tent there and focus on it. And what I like to do is say, you know, Angelo, you're waking up and you're kind of in a sour mood. Oh, so what? And we don't try to push it away or try to solve the problem. Because if we just recognize it and we embrace it and say, you know, I'm in bad moods today, you know, I'm not in very good moods today. It's okay. And when we recognize it and we embrace it, it evolves. It leaves our, I don't know if you've experienced this. Anybody experience this kind of a thing? I experience it all the time. And at that point, we're back into the higher level of consciousness, which is the Christ consciousness, or the unity, we call it the unity consciousness today.